Welcome back to Jersey Matters. We continue our conversation now with Senator Jennifer Beck, Republican from the 11th District, which is Monmouth County, almost all of Monmouth County. I know you want to talk about school funding, but you really can't talk about school funding, can you, without talking about the pension fund, without talking about the tax structure, without talking about the gas tax? It's all rolled into one.
Sure. So, look, the Senate President and I worked for months trying to figure out how we could redistribute a category of aid called adjustment aid. I know this is a little complicated, but it was one of the categories of aid that the Supreme Court didn't consider when they did their ruling on the school funding formula. It's just political. It was political funding. It's $600 million. We were looking at redistributing it to districts where there's been huge enrollment growth and they're grossly underfunded by the state of New Jersey. So that was really the impetus. We have 210 school districts that are overfunded by more than 10%. So, and have lost enrollment.
So they're getting money they don't need.
Correct. And then you have the converse with 143 school districts that are more than 10% below where they should be and have had huge enrollment growth. So clearly the calling is there. We've got to figure this out. You have places where they have 700 new kids, 1,000 new kids, and they're getting basically the same aid.
Now let me ask you, because I've heard this before. I've heard about the funding, and I've heard about that it has to be fixed. Everybody says it has to be fixed.
No doubt.
And it's not fixed.
Correct.
So what is the holdup? Why?
So one of the things that we found in our research is that many of the overfunded districts are not overfunded by the state of New Jersey, but are overfunded locally. So you've had districts where you have 500 students enrollment loss, whose local property taxpayers are overfunding the school district by $11 million. So that's one example.
Just to cut through some of this, so affluent neighborhoods would have to be forced to pay for non-affluent neighborhoods because they have a tax structure, they have property taxes where they have money for their school district. Is that right? If you're saying it's local and it's property tax?
I would have thought that, but when you start looking at the data, some of the districts that are underfunded are well-to-do, and some of the districts that are grossly overfunded are not. And there's no rhyme or reason. I mean, you can't find the pattern. All I can tell you is that we've had huge demographic shifts and places where they've seen a lot new children, a lot of new students, they haven't had new funding. And it's a problem. So it's not, the conversation isn't done. The challenge was if the money that's going into districts is coming from local property taxpayers for those overfunded school districts where they've had enrollment loss, what do you do with that? Like, do you say, okay, that's fine, you're allowed to overfund your school, but we'll take state aid and redistribute it?
It sounds reasonable.
I mean,
is that what you proposed? Is that what you were working on with Senator Sweeney?
We went through a number of methodologies and then decided that one of the things we had to do was get everybody on board with change. There's no legislator, there's not a single legislator that doesn't have school districts that are underfunded. Not one. And there's not a single legislator.
So nobody wants to give up money.
And there's also ones that are over. But everyone has to be okay with knowing that half their school districts will win and half will.
You understand
lose.
How frustrating this is for citizens when they hear, okay, there's an obvious problem. Some people are getting a lot of money. Some people aren't getting enough.
Correct.
Fix it.
Correct.
And it never seems to get fixed.
I will be rolling out some policy ideas in the fall once we finalize them. And the governor did put additional money in the budget this year for districts that are under adequacy. Adequacy is the amount you're supposed to spend per kid. And so we're going to take a look at some of the changes that the Senate President and I have talked about and some other ideas to try to at least address those that are in the most critical situation.
Let's talk about something much easier. Donald Trump.
I knew it was coming.
Are you going to support him?
I was a Kasich delegate. I wish that Governor Kasich was our nominee.
But he's not.
But he is not.
So?
Well, I can't support Hillary Clinton. I can't. I respect her intelligence. I respect her time in government and her but I just can't.
I guess there
I
is
don't
a
trust
difference.
her, and I know it's just I can't. But I can't lie and say that I'm thrilled with Donald Trump as a nominee.
So there's a
understand
difference. Let me put it this way, because I've talked to several Republicans about this, and many have share your views. There's a difference between voting for Donald Trump and endorsing for Donald Trump, isn't there? Like, you might not be to the point where you're going to endorse Donald Trump, but you would probably vote. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think that a lot of Republicans are at that point.
I won't be endorsing Donald Trump. And I don't know what I'll do in the ballot box.
Really?
Governor Kasich was my pick. I thought he was even-handed and intelligent and experienced.
But he's not going to be the nominee.
Correct. But I get to express my opinion, as everybody does, in the ballot box. And I get to express my preference, and it's personal, in the ballot box. And so I think many of our Republicans are deliberating over what to do in the fall. Frankly, as the last poll I saw, many Democrats are deliberating.
Oh, absolutely.
Many people agree that despite Hillary's vast experience, that many Democrats aren't huge fans.
It's amazing the poll numbers on people that don't like either. Are you disappointed in Governor Christie for his quick endorsement and traveling around with Donald Trump?
I think everybody gets to pick who they want to support. That's not my business. It's not the person I've picked. So he's a grown man. He gets to choose who he wants to support for president. I don't think, I get to dictate that to him by any stretch.
No, I didn't ask you to dictate.
The governorship is a very serious job. New Jersey has lots of issues. We need him here. We need him here every day. And so we'll see what happens, I guess, over the next weeks and months. But as you can see, even with the Transportation Trust Fund, it's just one of a litany of things that we've got to deal with as a legislature, and the executive branch has to be part of that conversation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here and talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
It was fascinating to see the inner conflict when I brought up Donald Trump. You really seemed pained by it. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
Senator Jennifer Beck, Republican, representing the 11th District, which is Monmouth County. When we come back, there was a huge rally for the environment in New Jersey. Sherry Carabin reports when Jersey Matters continues.